Peace, y'all. It's Tuesday, September 27. We'll just call this 15 minutes with RPM today. It's post Pittsburgh. I'll run you through quickly what we did over there, reason we went, who we bumped into, some of the cool stuff that went down over there. We were only there on Friday, just for the day. Went over and came back the same day. And what we got going here this week. So, here we go. First thing I'll do is run you through the creative block I think I ran into yesterday. Thought I was starting to catch a cold and get sick. I felt a little body achy, had a headache, my nose was stuffed. Might have just been a change of the weather. It was gray and raining on and off and just kind of blah here yesterday. I was out here messing around with the F-125 trying to get a chain guard going. Since the last video, instead of doing two pieces of angle, we actually made a template and just bent. This is all one piece. A 3-inch leg, it's a channel. A 3-inch leg, a 1-inch gap with a 3/4 to 1 inch leg on this side. We put riv nuts in it, as you can see. And we'll put riv nuts in the side here to hold our chain guard on. This obviously to keep, like I said, to keep the hoses out of the chain. We also got to be able to get our shift arm hooked up. Looks like more than likely we may have to remove the starter nut and put the stock standard nut on and start this cart back off the axle again, because that nut, the thing is just so big. We may end up giving our buddy Don Axe a call. He's a machinist, and see if he can come up with something that'll do the same thing that takes up literally half as much room. I mean, we really need, if it ended right here, I think we'd be okay, because you see what's going on. We need to curve the chain guard up and over and then up as close to the end of the shift shaft as we can, because remember, our shoulder was right on it, and our shoulder was right on the tank before we moved it. So we want to give ourselves as much room as we can here, right? Without laying on things that need to move, like the shifting and what have you. The tank is done. Rich welded up the tank. He ended up welding it right here. Tacked it together. I think what we found out why it was so hard to weld the tank last fall into winter before Daytona, and the difference between how the welds turned out really nice, getting our brackets, new mounts on, was the sheer cold. I mean, the ambient being so cold out here, the aluminum was cold, and the little 250 amp machine just took a long time to heat the aluminum up, because he was having a problem getting both pieces of aluminum to melt, so he could start feeding filler rod. So he started tacking it together. He said, "Listen, man, this thing's working really good. Let's just weld it." So he welded it. So this week, I'm going to work on, this is a big piece here, a big item. It's going to take a lot of time. I'm going to try to get this all done, because the hip bolster there, we already know what we're doing. Here, it's just some padding. This, we already know, it's pretty straightforward, headrest, all that stuff. So we're gonna work on that today. What do I got going here? I think this is going to help me with my creative block. Before I came out today, I was on the can, actually. Sorry, Glenda. And was watching a little YouTube, dancing around on YouTube. And back when I was a kid, I was a big Van Halen fan. So now that Edward's gone, there's a lot of historical stuff and behind-the-scenes stuff coming out. And I find it very interesting. What I've been watching here are videos from the Sunset Studio, where Van Halen recorded 1, 2, all through Fair Warning. I mean, even up to Diver Down, before he went to the 5150 studios, and hearing about the creative things that were going on, not just the band, but the folks that used to work at Sunset, and their stories as they've come back and do these little videos and stuff. I'm just running it, just letting it run and working here. So it's really, I don't know if any of it applies. I mean, obviously I'm a musician, but something I was heavily into, I guess, and influenced by as a kid, a teenager, and a young guy, helping me get creative, inspiring me to be creative and move forward. 'Cause I spent 3 or 4 hours out here yesterday and getting nothing. All I did was make a mess of cardboard, paper, poster board, or old cereal box material, and I ended up throwing it all in the garbage. By the end of the day, when I came out and when I left the same way I came in, with nothing. So that's what we're going to be doing this week, is get this done. Secret projects covered up, but we have a program going on there as well. Need a little help from Richard, Brother Rich, and talked to him on the phone today on his lunch break. And so we spoke last week before I went to Pittsburgh too about a game plan on what we need to do. His welding and helping me get things set up so we can move forward on that. Again, trying to get both of these cars ready to do laps at Grattan in about 4 weeks. So what did we do at Pittsburgh? We bought clutch parts through the mail from John Ritchie. We've known of John Ritchie, but never really met him and talked to him. So through text messaging, he said, "Hey man, if you're there, look me up." So I did. I saw him on the track. I saw where his cart went. Followed uphill to the garage area up top, down by one of the last corners of the old course. And I went up and talked to him and his brother Harold. Super cool guy. I knew John's been around. He's like me. He's been around forever. Old gray hair, still doing it. Still maybe not as serious as he once was, but still doing it. So it was good to meet and talk to him and share stories a little bit. After leaving him, I talked to Jim Snyder and Aaron Snyder about my buddy Patrick is buying a TM Moto from those guys, an old TM Moto engine, I don't know, for spare parts or whatever, because that's what he's got on his CIK cart that he plays with. And so talked to them to see if they brought the motor. I'd take it back with me. They didn't bring it with them. So then bounced over to 2 trailers away to George. I'm going to probably tear this up. Argeus. George, our Greek buddy from Chicago. He runs CES. He's a CIK shifter and tag guy. George is a great guy. He's a great big teddy bear. So spent some time talking to him about the problems everybody was having. Not just getting up to temperature, but once on the track, keeping water temperature. Everything completely covered up and taped down, and the motor would still cool off. So was wondering why everybody was running around shifter carts, tag carts at half speed. Didn't make any sense. You're out there doing laps at half speed. What's going on? Everybody breaking a motor in? So talked to George, then bumped into Jerry Echols for one of the 4 or 5 conversations Jerry and I had all day on Friday, which was super cool. Always good to see Jerry and Sue, old friends, been around forever. Sue and Sherry, my wife, get along fantastic. They share racetrack horror stories together. They get it. They know about us boys and what we do. So bumped into Jerry as we were walking away from that garage area down the little ramp to the main paddock area. Somebody called Jerry. Jerry says, "Come over and check us out." We went over, and it was a UAS dirt cart. The Hagers were also there with their UAS dirt carts. We wonder, well, why is there a UAS cart at a road race? Well, they stopped in Georgia. This particular guy was from Florida. Stopped in Georgia to do the dirt championships, and his son was running a sprint enduro piston port. So instead of going back home and dropping off the dirt stuff and then passing where they were at to come all the way up to, they just made it all one big trip. Same with the Hagers. So we get over, and he's talking to Jerry, and I'm just a bystander. They're talking, and obviously they know one another, and so he starts it up and he revs it up, and it's basically a CR250 top end on a billet bottom end. There's no gear case. And then it's belt drive to a jack shaft to a chain, I think. And really dirty, nasty to look at, right? But very interesting. And then in the middle of their conversation, Jerry says, I'm so sorry. He says, Robert, this is Hoppy Hoskins. This is Robert. And he's like, "Hey, Robert, how you doing?" And I just started laughing. He says, what's up? He says, should I know you? And I said, "We're Facebook friends, but I use an alias on Facebook." So we start talking, and sure as anything, so Jerry leaves us, takes off, and lets me hang out with Hoppy Hopkins for with Hoppy for a while. And come to find out, he's got an HM1 45 millimeter Tillotson carb like I haven't used yet, on this motor, this monster motor. It's actually a 300cc. It's a 250 bore out. So we start talking about tuning and adjusting and working with that carburetor. Told him, he asked me what I'm going to put it on. I told him I got the YZ250WR, and this is going to be a big help to me because he's a longtime YZ250 guy that ran these motors, dirt. So he knows, although he races dirt, he's obviously at a road race with his son. He has an idea of motors and road racing, So he's going to be able to help us out with the right pipe and porting, and maybe somebody to work on it. Who knows? But he's got a lot of experience with the YZ250. So that was super cool. Spent an hour talking to Hoppy. After that, bounced around a bit. Was over at John West Pit 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, helping those guys a little bit. Maybe watching what they were doing. Not so much helping, but just hanging around, moral support as they went through practice. John did very well. Everything was good for him. Joe had little issues that were causing some problems, and then John had put Cole Peschang in a backup car, which continued to just blow up every time the kid drove it. So a little of everything in that pit. Bounced over, talked to Chuck Bunnell, who brought the NEK seat that we intentionally went to Pittsburgh just to buy, so we didn't have to pay the shipping. He brought a couple seats from a local guy in his neighborhood in Chardon, Ohio, Doug Sharp, who used to be a road racer, who is now just a karting, kind of a CIK karting at-the-track supplier. And he sent 2 seats with Chuck to the track and said, best to sit in them and try them out. So this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted the NEK, Jecco, type of seat. The square. I think this is a more supportive seat, especially with the legs on the CIK shifter. So it fits perfect. It's actually a little bit big, which is, I'd rather have it a little big so I can add some padding where I want to, instead of too tight. And then we're back to what we're doing with the 125 here, trying to shoehorn a fat guy into a smaller seat. And then of course that never does work too well. So picked up a bunch of parts and pieces for the special project. Some miscellaneous stuff here, whole bunch of other stuff behind us. I'm not going to show you any of that. Maybe in another clip for the special project file, maybe I'll show you some of that stuff, but you all won't be seeing it today. So that's it. The guys from Australia that bought the cart, their guy was supposed to come pick it up. He called me. It was my anniversary that day. He says, how about I go to Pennsylvania and I'll catch you on the way back next week. That was 2 weeks ago. So I'm thinking about just taking this over to Rich's house and letting it sit there until the guy calls me again. I don't want to drag it all the way back to the storage unit because as soon as I do that, the phone will ring, right? Par for the course. So there you go. That's what we're going to work on today. Tank is done, so all I got to do is drill the new pins and put the clips in. And so our shoulder bolster there is done. That's going to be the base for our padding for our hip bolster. Unless it's, that side is going to be super easy unless something else comes into play. Like I said, we're going to work something up here with these elbows, welding them to the old Nerf bar here, and either have something like this holding the flat plate. We'll come up with something. It'll be a quick, easy fix, and we want to basically get the seat of this thing as close to done as we can this week, so we can really concentrate on the systems on this secret project that need to be tested in 4 weeks. Really would like to get, even if it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 laps, it's still going to teach us a whole bunch about what we're altering, changing, and really developing new that nobody else is going to have for this thing, and make sure it works before we drag it all the way down to Daytona and find out, gee, we should have got it to Granton in October. So that's it. The 15-minute movie's over. We'll talk to y'all later. Godspeed, God bless. We're praying for you. Pray for us. And we're going to watch some more behind the scenes at the studio about Van Halen in the days past. God bless y'all. Hang in there. We're praying for you.